Ah, the Centurion Nugget Challenge. The battle of endurance versus 100 chicken nuggets, eating them all within a single sitting. A true challenge of your worth, attempted by streamers and humans galore. This challenge is also extensively studied in the sciences, with schools of thought forming around each major aspect of it. They publish academic articles annually, read by millions across the globe. And yet, it has recently come to my attention that a large portion of the population has 1. Not encountered any of the literature, and 2. Not even heard of the challenge. This is outrageous, so I have decided to make a video providing a brief overview of the 3 main schools of thought, and branching off points for further exploration and research. First off, some notes about terminology. The specific type of chicken nugget eaten for the challenge varies, but for the purpose of standardizing the nutrition, the Chicken McNugget is mostly used and is considered most valid. Therefore, this introductory video will only provide info on the Chicken McNugget variation of the challenge. I will also refer to Chicken McNuggets as nugs, as most people within the field do. The person who attempts the Centurion Nugget Challenge will also be shortened to Eater for ease of speech. With that ado out of the way, let us address the Nutritio Ratio School. As the name implies, it addresses the nutrition information of the nugs, both during and post-consumption. Here is a table of most of the nutrition information of 100 nugs. This is already leaving out a lot of important information within this school of thought, such as the nug's death rate, but, in sum, these are what are considered by this faction. Please pause the video now if you would like to have a closer look, for I am about to narrow this down even further. The macronutrient count is not important for the consumption of the nugs, only for digestion later. While this is undoubtedly important, with many scholars dedicating their entire lives to that one aspect, it is a sideline to the challenge itself. The same thing goes for the minerals. While important, everything except sodium does not majorly impact the challenge. So, the list can be shortened down to this in this introductory video. Calories. Contrary to what many students think when first learning about this discipline, the kilocalorie count is not very important to this challenge. Sure, 5,066 kilocalories is the 2-day recommendation for an adult, but it doesn't make the challenge any harder. The body doesn't gauge when it wants to stop eating based on kilocalorie count. It bases it on a whole bunch of other things. A cake that has 10,000 calories in it will be much, much easier to eat than many, many watermelons. Exercising mid-challenge will burn calories, but in no way will it aid an eater in their quest. The actual important factor for fullness is volume. There are approximately 2.8 liters of food matter in 100 nugs. For comparison, here is a banana, and here is 3 liters of water in standard water bottles. Scholar Matt LeBlanc has found that the human stomach can stretch to 2 to 4 liters. This leads many new thinkers to think that the challenge is very easy, since 4 is more than 3. Don't be fooled. While this does tell us that the volume of nugs is feasible for the average human, there are many more factors at play in the Centurion Nugget Challenge than just volume. Chewing time, satiation, dryness, and more will all affect how many nuggets an eater can consume. The other schools of thought deal more with these. The sodium count of 9,801 is important, since it causes a massive desire for water, both during and after the challenge. Literature on nugs reveals that an adult should consume less than 2,000 milligrams a day. This is 5 times that. For comparison, here is a banana and a gram of sodium visualized. If an eater is susceptible to health issues, they should not attempt this challenge. For those who aren't as susceptible, it will still be an obstacle. An eater will be tempted to drink lots of water mid-challenge, but this is not advised since it takes up precious volume. Instead, scholar Shia LaBeouf recommends sipping on water periodically in order to abate thirst and aid in the swallowing of nugs. Upon completion of the challenge, water may be consumed as desired, but in moderation. Too much could lead to water intoxication, or, less worrying, vomiting. I myself vomited due to water intake after I completed my challenge. Cholesterol will not impede nug consumption, but like sodium, it is a serious health risk for many eaters. If 908 milligrams of cholesterol is too much for them, the challenge must not be attempted. Nugs often come with sauce packets, which will also impact nutrition. Here is the important, well-studied information on honey mustard and barbecue sauce. 100 nugs often comes with 21 sauce packets, but 10 is usually sufficient for most eaters. Banana for scale. Everything here except for the sodium count can be discarded. It's not that high compared to the nug count, and since it is a liquid itself, may even help abate the thirst garnered from it. The sauce also makes the consumption of nugs much easier due to the flavor improving. So, while sauce is not necessary for the challenge's completion, the Nutritio Ratio School generally recommends consuming sauce as desired. There is still so much more to talk about within this school, but in the interest of time, it will be left here. The next two schools of thought delve into the methods by which nuggets are consumed mid-challenge, and stem from the analysis of nug consumption over time. There are 6 main graphs that are standardized for teaching in these schools, based off of real nug runs. 2 are from the streamers Dug and Parkser, and the other 4 are from anonymized eaters. As you can hopefully see, there is a clear pattern in the data. We have a linear section, and then a non-linear section. I am one of the anonymous eaters, and my graph should show this very clearly. The Primus Surge faction focuses on improving the linear section, and the Sistina Praxis doctrine focuses on the taper. The linear section of the graph is when an eater does not feel full, and so is simply inhibited by how fast the nugs can slide down their throat before they do. There are 2 main methods for improving the linear section: eating faster and having a higher stomach capacity. Eating faster will allow more nuggets to enter the system before the brain realizes how bad of an idea this truly is. This will allow an eater to have fewer nuggets to eat when they feel full, making the challenge easier. The rate of nug consumption is fairly standard among inexperienced eaters, but there is a slight difference, as seen in the linear section of Dug and Parkser. In trying to eat nugs faster, there are many tactics one may try to employ. An eater should always have a nug being chewed, and not hesitate to swallow when possible. Building on the words of scholar Matt LeBlanc, nugs being slightly moist will make swallowing much easier, if gross. Professional eaters take this to the extreme, dunking nugs in water and gulping massive amounts afterwards to skip the chewing portion. An eater should be careful of this, however, for an inexperienced eater may not use this correctly and only end up inhibiting the volume of their stomach. An eater may also want to have multiple nugs chewed in parallel to speed up the process. Taking this to the extreme, some scholars advocate so-called nug bursts, where an eater has 3 or more nugs enter the mouth simultaneously. Dug made extensive use of this, initiating 2 nug bursts of 5 nuggets in the linear section, and 3 nug bursts of varying amounts in the later section. While this may on the surface seem like an obvious way to boost efficiency, it didn't seem to improve his run. His graph shows the same average rate of nug consumption if he had initiated nug bursts or ate them one by one. This tells us that chewing and swallowing rate is likely more important than parallel chewing. Stomach capacity is also important. If an eater can have more nugs in their stomach at one time, the linear section will be extended, making the run easier. While stomach capacity can be improved over time, it's not something that an inductee can do very easily. People who eat a lot regularly, like obese people and professional eaters, do have bigger stomachs than people who don't, like anorexics, but this is over large timescales. Veterans of the Centurion Nugget Challenge will typically do many high-volume, low-calorie burst meals, like eating an entire watermelon, to increase their stomach capacity. Yet, for a newcomer to the challenge, it's more important to focus on not shrinking the stomach capacity rather than enlarging it. Fasting for a long time before consumption will slightly shrink the stomach, as will drinking cold water, so these should be avoided. The most important factor in stomach capacity is not eating for around 16 hours before the challenge to ensure the stomach is empty. On to the non-linear section, which scholars in the sustainer praxis doctrine call the determination section. This section is when an eater begins to feel full, and so needs determination to continue. It is difficult to pinpoint exactly when the transition from linear to the determination section happens, so the specific analyzer needs to make a judgment call. This may prove an issue, but after years of experience, it is commonplace from analyzers all across the globe to agree on the specific nug where the shift begins. Here they all are on the 6 teaching graphs, and their respective data on the determination section. Here's what the least determined graphs look like, compared with the most determined graphs, with a banana for scale. Note how the 2 bottom ones have a strong linear portion, and then quickly flatten out, while the top ones have a long taper section. This section is quite hard to improve on, since thoroughly empirically verifying how to increase determination is hard to do. Yet, a single tactic has been shown to work. When feeling at their lowest, an eater must imagine the Undertale death screen and mutter, "You cannot give up just yet. Eater's name! Stay determined." One thing that connects the Primus Surge faction and the Sustainer Praxis doctrine is the controversial issue of breaks. The proponents suggest that a break allows the nugs to settle in an eater's stomach, and to have a reset in the flavor, providing a convenient reset point. The opponents say that breaks merely waste valuable time that could be spent chewing, and elongate the linear section. It is difficult to say who was more right, due to many eaters not wanting to risk their run to take breaks. However, a recent non-standard Wendy's run may be useful in this analysis. Agent 00 took 8 breaks in his run, as seen here. To see the potential effect of his major breaks, I cut them together, creating this. There does not seem to be a gain in nug consumption rate post-break, and so I do not recommend them. In sum, the main tactics for an inductee into the challenge are 1. Do not consume much until the challenge. 2. Limit water intake before, during, and after. 3. Eat quickly. And 4. Stay determined. I hope this proves to be a good introduction to the science of the Centurion Nugget Challenge. This truly only scratches the surface into the science and the analysis of this challenge, and so I hope it provokes further intrigue into it and inspiration for taking the challenge yourself. Toodlepip.